Springfield Chamber for quite a long time on a variety of issues, and I thought the governor, with his remarks today about the importance of small business and obviously with the Small Business Awards today was really spot on. The reasons that we're trying to do things in the General Assembly is to expand the economy in Illinois, and small businesses drive the economy in Illinois. So it's great to have the governor here today. Those of us who live in Springfield, like myself, are very thankful for you spending money at places like some of the award winners today at Dan & Burgers or the Cons and things like that. So thank you for what you're doing for Springfield. Thank you for your remarks today, and we'll keep pushing forward in the General Assembly and try to get it done.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Today's a wonderful lunch here celebrating small business in Springfield and in Sangamon County. Small business is the backbone of Illinois' economic prosperity. The majority of people in Illinois either own a small business or work in a small business, and small businesses create 2/3 of the new jobs every year in Illinois and across America. The success of small business is the success of our state. And when we talk about the challenges we need to overcome in terms of getting a balanced budget, paying down our unpaid bills, funding our pensions properly, funding our health care properly, funding our schools properly, we have many challenges. We will overcome those challenges through the economic growth and the prosperity built from small business. If we could grow our small businesses faster, recruit more businesses to come to Central and Illinois and across the state and grow those businesses faster, we could balance our budgets without having to raise taxes. We could fund our schools without having to raise taxes. And the simple fact is, if we had just grown at the nation's average over the last 15 years, we wouldn't have a deficit today. We wouldn't have any unpaid bills today. And we would have $19 billion more in the state treasury. Economic growth is the key to our prosperity and our balanced budgets, and small business is the key to that economic growth. That's why we're here to celebrate at this luncheon, to honor the Springfield Chamber of Commerce and their small business members. We're here in Springfield. As you know, you've heard now, unfortunately, the General Assembly has announced they will not be back in session tomorrow as they had originally promised they would. I continue to urge the General Assembly to come back to Springfield and to vote on very critical bills. We do not have a budget. The General Assembly left town May 31st without passing any budget whatsoever. And without a budget, there's a risk that our schools don't open. There's a risk that our essential government services aren't provided. There's a risk that all our road construction has to come to a halt. There's a risk that essential human services, healthcare services are shut down. This would be a tragedy for the people of Illinois. We need essential services to continue. We need our schools to open on time, so our families, our students, our teachers have the confidence and the stability in their lives to know that our schools are going to be properly taken care of. We have the money in our accounts in the government. The money is there to open our schools. The money is there to fund our human services, to fund our road construction, to fund our public safety. The money is there. We need this General Assembly to come back and appropriate the money so that we can continue to provide these services. We've introduced 2 bills to get this done. One, a clean standalone school funding bill that for the first time in 7 years fully funds the foundation level. So all schools in the state get at least as much money than last year, and some school districts get materially more money than last year. We're putting $240 million more into our school system under our proposal that we have introduced in the General Assembly. We would like the General Assembly to come back to Springfield and vote for our school funding bill so our schools can open on time. We're also asking the General Assembly to come back and pass our stopgap budget bill. It's not a long-term solution. It doesn't fund everything that people might like to have funded, but it gets essential human services, construction services, public safety services, and essential government operations funded through January so we can get through this short-term impasse and get on to what hopefully will be good long-term balanced budgets with reforms to grow our economy and protect our taxpayers, especially our property taxpayers and our homeowners, from the very high taxes that are burdening them today. So we're encouraging the General Assembly, please come back, vote on these 2 essential bills. Don't wait, don't delay hoping to create a crisis, to create pressure, to create more spending, to try to force a tax hike without any reforms, or to try to force a bailout from the taxpayers here in Central Illinois or the suburbs to Chicago. Chicago Public Schools have been financially mismanaged for years. They have been running deficits for decades. the taxpayers here across the state do not deserve to have their money sent to Chicago. The taxpayers in Illinois should have the money coming to all the schools in the state, not just to bail out Chicago. We're asking the General Assembly, don't try to hold up school funding, as President Cullerton said he would, to bail out the city of Chicago schools. Our schools deserve to open with more money for all schools and schools to be treated equitably. So please come back. Let's vote on these two bills.
Was President Cullerton...
If you get the property tax deal, if you get workers' comp, property taxes, and a pension deal, you said the other day you'd be satisfied with that. Can't the working groups come to those conclusions, and isn't that the best way to go right now if you get the whole deal that you want?
My strong preference is to get a grand compromise with a balanced budget and real reforms. And the most important reforms that we've advocated, you're right, are around property tax relief with local control of the cost of government, with pension reform, and with workers' comp reform, because that's the one regulatory reform that could grow our economy the fastest. That's our first choice. Speaker Madigan and President Cullerton put a brick on the working group's progress about 6 weeks ago or so, and the working groups have been slow and really not making much progress in the last 6 weeks. So what we can't do is wait. Our schools need to open. They need to have the confidence. Our teachers need to know that their schools are open and that they're going to be able to work and educate our young people. And essential government services are on the verge of shutdown. We got a week to go. And these working groups have been slow-rolled for the last 6 weeks. We can't have this drag on for weeks and weeks going forward. We need action now on these two bills.
So
do you call them back if they don't come back on their own?
I'm sorry?
Do you call them back if they won't come back on their own?
Well, we'll have to start evaluating all our options. I've not wanted to call a special session because that's been tried in the past in other crises and with other governors, and it hasn't really worked very well, and it's just gotten people's emotions very high. So my preference is not to do that.
But there's only a week left.
Well,
the new fiscal year starts.
we are going to evaluate our options in the coming days. I was hoping that the General Assembly would come tomorrow and vote. They're not. But we're going to try to reach out. I have been in regular contact with members in the supermajority, encouraging them to come back and take the votes. We'll just continue to work and stay persistent on this.
Was President Cullerton correct when he said about a week ago that your staff clearly planned that June 1st fly around in advance, and you dropped 1,000 pages of two bills on them the last day of the session? Isn't that just the kind of thing you went around Southern Illinois saying don't give your money to Chicago like you did today? Isn't that the kind of thing that creates a lack of trust in you for them to negotiate with?
Boy, not at all. And believe me, we were not planning any of that. We were
how'd
hoping.
you get it together so quickly?
We're good.
We were in like 6 cities in one day.
We are good. Yeah.
Sir, you're the governor. You're talking about working groups and stuff, whatnot. We have not seen a solid budget proposal out of you after a year and a half. Why not? I mean, you're talking about this turnaround agenda that has little or no chance in a blue state like Illinois. We've wasted a year and a half. Why haven't you not put forward a budget that will work? Everybody knows you're going to have to find new revenue. A sixth grader knows that. Anybody that can do math knows that. Why haven't you produced on your own a budget that is realistic and then sell that?
Well, I would disagree with most of the assumptions implicit in your question. Every reform that we've advocated has strong bipartisan support. You say that we're a blue state, we're actually a purple state. It's important that we are a two-party state. Democracy doesn't work well on a one-party basis. But every reform that we're advocating has majority support of Democrats as well as Republicans. Every reform. Some special interest groups don't like it, but the people, the voters, the residents, Democrats and Republicans in the state support every part of what we're advocating. For example, let me just walk through. This is critically important. People in Illinois know we can't keep going down the same direction. We've been running deficits, we've been kicking the can on pensions, and we've been raising taxes for decades. And as a result, we have the highest unemployment rate, or now the second highest. We have the biggest deficits, the biggest debt, the slowest economic growth.
Sir,
we can't.
We've heard that before. It's your issue now. Why have you not produced a budget that is balanced, that includes something realistic proposals for revenue enhancement and cuts? Why not?
I'd like to answer your question. If you could not interrupt, let me answer. Every reform that we're advocating has bipartisan support. We can't just raise taxes and think we will solve the problem. We just raised taxes in 2011 with no reforms, and what happened? Our credit rating went down 5 times. Our unfunded pension liability went up $28 billion. Our economic growth slowed and nothing got better. And you can look at many other states, states like New Jersey, states like Connecticut, other states that have massive debt deficits, unfunded pensions, and low economic growth. They've already raised their taxes on the income. The reason General Electric left Connecticut was because they ran the same deficits we run. They kept raising the income tax to cover it, and GE said, we're out of here. We're not going to deal with that anymore. In New Jersey, they have the exact same problems we do, and you know what they did? They put in a big graduated income tax. They can't fund their pensions, they can't overcome their deficits, and they've got a hugely high graduated income tax. Raising taxes won't solve the problem. We've got to get at the structural cause of the problem, and that is a balance of power. This is the core issue. Balance of power between taxpayers and the special interest groups inside government. Now, here's the issue. Everything we're advocating, we know that Republicans are a super minority. So I'm not advocating anything that only Republicans support. Everything we're advocating, Democrats support too. Let me tell you, workers' comp reform, single biggest regulatory change we need to make. Our Attorney General is a Democrat. Hopefully everybody knows that. She is a Democrat. She has come out and said we need causation in our workers' comp system. She's a Democrat. And we do need causation in workers' comp. If we would get that, we would grow our economy. Secondly, the vast majority of Democrats in this state know our political system is broken. Our businesses, one of the reasons they leave is they don't trust our democracy to work for them anymore in Illinois. We need term limits on elected officials, and we need fair maps. We need redistricting reform to have competitive general elections. The vast majority of Democrats in this state support both of those initiatives. Likewise, pension reform. The pension reform plan I am advocating was put forward by President Cullerton. Last time I checked, he's not a Republican. This was put forward by the leadership in the General Assembly, Democratic leadership. Likewise, local control of government costs. Some special interest groups don't want that, but Democratic voters, as well as Republican voters, want to control their own communities. They want to control their own governments. They want to control their own school districts. They don't want mandates from Springfield telling them how they do their contracting, how they do their bidding, how they do their bargaining. And for those in the state who might be like you, who are more...
Sir, I don't mean to interrupt. We've heard this same campaign speech for a year and a half. Why have you not put forth a balanced budget?
Okay, so well, somebody else, yes.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the Chamber of Commerce, I look at these small businesses you talk about going to bat for and really trying to help them out. I mean, wouldn't that be considered a special interest for you, though? I mean, you're saying, like, we're going to do this. We want to make sure we get workers' reform and all these sort of things. Isn't that considered a special interest?
Well, if you think jobs are just an interest of some particular person or group, you're wrong. Jobs are for everybody. If you think expanding the tax base is a partisan issue or a special interest issue, you're wrong. It's for everybody. If you think rising family incomes for more economic growth is for some special group and not for everybody, you're wrong. Helping small business helps everybody, and it's bipartisan.
Governor, do you think some of the Democrats that you say are supporting your administrative law judge by passing that, there's a hearing coming up to determine that? Can you talk about why you think it's important?
I'm sorry, could you repeat
the administrative law judge hearing in the labor court case?
Why do you want to?
Oh, yes, we're trying to go as expeditiously as we can with our negotiation process with the impasse. We believe we're at impasse. We're in front of a judge to determine whether we're at impasse. The reason it matters is right now we're spending more than $35 million extra every month to preserve the existing structure compensation package, including benefits. Whereas if we could get our proposal in place, we could save taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars over the next few months. So every week that goes by matters. We believe we're at impasse. We've negotiated in good faith for over a year with the largest government union. They have stonewalled and delayed. We have agreed on essentially the exact same terms with 18 other unions. 18 unions have approved our proposal, and I believe, frankly, that if the largest union would allow their members to vote on our proposal, I believe it would pass. It would be good if some of your media voices would say, put that to a vote for the members. It would pass. Right now, we're wasting taxpayer money, we're delaying, and we want to move this along to protect the taxpayers of the state. Yes, Dave?
You were quoted as saying, I think it was in the Tribune, Madigan, if he gets more seats, will be an unstoppable dictator or something like that, and we can't get anything done. I thought we elected someone who's going to look Madigan in the eye,
or kick them in the butt, or both. Not be a goody two-shoes shrinking violet. I mean, come on, you're the governor.
I've never been accused of being a shrinking violet. Dave, that's a historic comment, I think. You know, it's very important. I didn't say it. It's very important that we have a balance in Illinois. We've lost our balance. We don't have a balance, and we haven't really been an effective two-party state. Democracy doesn't really work well on a one-party basis, and if we go even more that way, I think it could be devastating for our economy and devastating for our taxpayers.
Can you name some of those rank-and-file Democrats that you say are supporting your agenda? You said 30 to 40 of them. Where are they? Can you tell us who they are?
Well, so don't misquote me. Let's be careful. So what I've said is, we know it doesn't work for one person to stand up and take a vote that protects taxpayers. One Democrat did that against the Speaker's wishes and got taken out. So no one will stand up. If 30 or 40 would stand up and do the right thing to protect taxpayers and grow our economy, they wouldn't be taken out. They couldn't be taken out in their strength in numbers. So I'm encouraging, and I believe we're getting many of those ready to vote. Here's the issue. For example, Elaine Neckritz has publicly said, she's a leader in the Democratic caucus in the House, she has publicly said what many say in private: we need a balanced budget that has cuts, has some new revenues, and has reforms to grow the economy and protect taxpayers. She has said it. She is correct. Many of the members of the General Assembly say it in private. President Cullerton has said it in private. And we were making great progress in the working groups over the last 9 months. Up until about 6 weeks ago, we were making great progress. I think, I'm not going to speculate on what happened, but the progress was halted by the other side about 6 weeks ago, and it's been pretty minimal since, and that's unfortunate. Many members in the General Assembly on the Democratic side, as well as the Republican side, agree we need reforms, and we agree that the reforms we're asking for are reasonable.
So are you willing to have universities closed, just in case, if you don't get them?
Burns, you had one.
Did I?
I feel like we're getting a competing message from you. In one breath, you say, I want you to come back to Springfield, vote on my proposed temporary budget. But your members are participating in a budget working group that is currently workshopping that idea and is supposed to come up with some sort of bill. So at this point, 7 working days away, what do you want? Do you want to vote on that bill? Do you want to let the working group figure it out?
No, voting on our 2 bills would not stop the working groups. The working groups are trying to get reforms and a truly balanced budget.
But there's a budget one that's working on the budget, that's working on your temporary budget outline.
There are many discussions going on. Let me be clear. Right now, we have a week left in this fiscal year, and the government is on the verge of shutdown, and our schools are on the verge of not opening in the fall. The people of Illinois deserve so much better than that. I believe what's being done is the leadership on the other side of the aisle is using the working groups as an excuse not to do anything, to delay and create a crisis. I believe that's what's going on. So I've said, let's vote on these 2 bills. They're good bills. They're reasonable. They get schools open with more money. Every school district gets some more money. Chicago gets more. Every school district gets some more. Not a lot more, but we don't have the money to do a lot more, but we can do a little bit more within our current means. And our stopgap budget bill includes basically the services that were included within the human services bill that came to my desk. But that bill didn't go far enough. It didn't include public safety. It didn't include government operations. And that bill, if I signed that alone, would create a crisis, and some government would shut down. I personally believe some across the aisle want that crisis and want a government shutdown, so I have to go hat in hand, and at which point they'd say, oh, well then you have to do this and this and this spending way beyond our means. That's not fair. The people of Illinois don't deserve to have spending beyond our means to force a tax hike without reforms. We need reforms as part of any revenue. So I've said, come here, vote on these 2 bills, they're reasonable, it'll get us through this crisis.
Last question.
Well, Governor, if you talk to the small businesses in this room, and maybe you heard it from them today, whether or not I have a state contract, this is hurting my bottom line. The longer this drags on.
Sure.
What have you been telling them? Okay, we may be going into another fiscal year without a state contract.
Well, first of all, I apologize because this is not their fault and they deserve better. All the people of Illinois deserve better than what they've been getting this past year, but for decades. Our government has failed the people of Illinois. Constant deficit spending, constant borrowing, constant kicking the can on pension payments, constantly lower growth, lower family incomes, high unemployment. The people of Illinois deserve so much better than what we've been delivering. And for our small business owners, many of them are suffering. They're not getting paid by the state. That is wrong. We're the only state in America that I could find that doesn't pay its bills. And this predates me. This is not something that I invented or caused. We were not paying our bills here for years and years. That is wrong. That is mismanagement. This predates anything in our administration. What I've asked of the small business community is stand up, call your state senator and your state representative, especially if they're in the super majority, because they're the ones who call the shots, and say, let's get a balanced budget. Let's get reforms to help them compete and grow their businesses. Let's get reforms to have balanced budgets and get pension reform and grow our economy. And as part of that, we can have some new revenues. And people are supportive of that. We need bipartisan compromise, reforms, and a balanced budget. And that's what we're going to push for.
There's never been a year without
Thanks very
budget
much,
till you,
everybody.
Governor.
Thanks very much.